event tonight about Metaverse. But before to talk about Metaverse, I would like to thank you, all of you, to be here present on this avenue in south of Tenerife. Some of you went with a journey to come from the north until here. Please raise your hand and applaud them. That's right. On the last event chapter, we had more than 50 people. It was a real success, really. We had so many people that went to Los Abrigos. It was a different place, of course, and it was very successful. We had 2 pitches, and in this new event format, we have a special guest speaker that I will talk about later. I would like to welcome on stage Wim with TT.
Thank you. The man to be thanked tonight for the organization of this event is actually Otman. Give a big up to Otman, thanks. My name is Tristan. I'm one of the founders of this community that we have in the Canary Islands, which is called Web3 Island Makers. And we basically are founding a community here to promote Web3 entrepreneurship in the Canary Islands. If you're not familiar with Web3, I'm going to have a few words about what we're doing here, what Web3 is about in a few words, and where we're heading to. Just going to pass some slides. Right, do you want to pass the slides? Oh, super cool. Let's go. So there is kind of a revolution happening at the moment in the background of technology. It's called Web3. It's a new set of technologies that is coming from the ground based on blockchain technologies. It's a form of a digital ledger that keeps track of everything that's happening in a digital environment. And it comes with a new set of rules. You can go on. There is a big adoption. Maybe you've heard about this, probably you've heard about Bitcoin, this major cryptocurrency that emerged in the late 2000s, the years 2008. And maybe you've heard then about Ethereum, a big blockchain as well. And actually now we have way more than that. Something like 16,000 blockchains exist at the moment I'm speaking at. And it's rising. Millions are put by the biggest investors, big funds into that space to foster a new type of economy. It's about decentralization. You can pass the slide. It's an economy that is more decentralized and that promotes ownership of the users. As soon as you enter a Web3 product, you're not just a user anymore. You are a contributor. You own your data and you own the products that you use. It makes such a difference compared to posting a video on TikTok and never earning anything about this TikTok video you posted, even though it makes 4 billion views. A Web3 version of TikTok would mean that you put your video out there and it just comes back to you fairly because you are a contributor of this product and you are recognized as such. You can go on. But what Web3 Island Makers actually is because we're in the Canarias and it's been now a few years that Gran Canaria specifically and Tenerife are considered the best places in Europe to be a remote worker. This screenshot that you see on the right is a little bit far away from here, but it's Gran Canaria and Tenerife ranking 3 and 4 in Europe as the best places to be an entrepreneur, a digital nomad. So we want basically to empower the people that help us build an epicenter for Web3 here. We started from Puerto. We organized some events also in Santa Cruz, in the south of the island here. And our first event is happening in Gran Canaria on the 16th of March. You can go on the slide before, yeah. So, might be able to read from here, yeah. We're trying to build an ecosystem, and this ecosystem doesn't go only with this kind of events. Events are just a part of it, because it enables us to connect, to meet some new faces, maybe for further collaboration, to collaborate on new products. There is an online community, but we see much further. An ecosystem is about being trained, I want to maybe switch from Web 2 to Web 3 and I want to improve my skills. So there are training programs. If I want to fund a company, we have founders here in the audience. If you want to fund a company, you want to have people who can help you fund your company, VCs or business angels. So it's also part of the ecosystem. Institutionals. There is a big game also here about housing facilities, co-workings and co-livings. We also want to have a foot in there. And yeah, so that's a word about these local opportunities, and we also want to have a worldwide community that helps us. Today, already on our Discord, around 200 members, we have some people contributing from Poland and France and Italy. So it's not only about here, locally, you can also set a foot in that environment if you're overseas. We started this thing like just a few of us in a garden less than a year ago. It was last July. And we made some progress, and we're hoping to gather more and more people to help us achieve this. Now it's 200 people on this meetup group. We are 160 on this Discord server. It's very fun. Just hop on and say hi. People are like very helpful and want to collaborate on projects. I won't cover everything that's here because a lot of things were achieved. But basically, yeah, we have set up tokenomics, and one of the most important projects we are focusing at the moment is this startup studio, this decentralized startup studio. It's called The Peak, and it is a way for people of the community to start a project or to pitch their project. Either it's already a prototype or an MVP. We can go to the next slides, and to pitch their project and have people from the community hopping on the project to boost it. And the deal is that in 4 to 6 months, we try to turn this Web3 idea, this prototype or this MVP, into a scalable product that can raise funds and that can eat the world. The project we are working on at the moment is called Traders Island. It's a DeFi platform that we selected last November. We had something around 12 applications and run this selection process to have the best product possible we could work on. And they need help. They need help. This model I was telling you about a second ago with people contributing on this project were actually proved rather efficiently. In a month, we went from a team of 4 people to 14, and it's all about the people that are building this project. So now they are a team of 14, but we still are looking for some people, especially a Solidity developer. So it's a clear call to action. We need a Solidity lead to hop on this project. The platform is doing good. It's already on the testnet on Avalanche, and it's a perpetual futures trading platform. Very advanced product, so if you know anything about DeFi and you want to help, hop on, and if you're a Solidity developer, even better. You can go on and pass this slide. Go. Yeah, you can pass the slide. Thanks. Some of those faces are here tonight. You will please have a chat with us if you want to join. And we actually need some help on those aspects. If you anyhow are willing to step a little bit further into a Web3 adventure, this is the roles we're looking for, and also some ways to help here. Just pausing here for a second. If you are a Solidity lead, community manager, digital marketer, CTO, if you are comfortable with sponsoring dynamics, please raise hands. Or if you want to help on investing in Traders Island, sponsoring the community, invest in that token that we're releasing as I speak, please make a sign. It's a very special night tonight. It's the first time we have a speaker coming from overseas. Super glad to have you, Nick. We'll have some more. We'll have some like a proper time to hear about that. And I think I'm gonna pass the mic now to. Thank you very much. That's about WIMeet, and please join us if you want.
Thank you. As you can see here, Canary Island is not just partying or doing something else or relax on the sun on the beach. As you can see, we could change this image. We could, thanks to one of these kind of initiatives, create jobs, create new projects, join many people. Before to arrive here, actually, to join this events and team, we figured out that many people were spread out in the island. There was a need, actually, to connect many different type of skills. Those skills, actually, were isolated. And thanks to us, maybe, I'm humble when I say that, we could change maybe this perspective and create maybe new opportunities. So, this event wouldn't be done actually thanks to the support of Zen Den, Roy, as you can see here in the top. Say hi to him. Yeah. And also, it wouldn't be done without the support of Vagabonds, which is a community. They were actually hosting. The event of the last chapter, and I would like also to say a few words to him. Sorry. Thank you. We also have thanks to Vagabonds, a prototype here where we could use actually after this break, because we're going to do a break now, using artificial intelligence to generate images, and actually we can use them in this focus of the spirit of blockchain by converting them into NFT if you want. But anyway, I would like also to introduce an artist. Why we are hosting artists? Actually, we want also to change the image of Canary Islands. We want to give also chances and opportunities to anybody, but not anybody. Please welcome on stage Swetlana.
Yay!
Swetlana, could you tell us a bit more about yourself, where you come from? We don't need like big speeches. It's okay, just be natural. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Swetlana, I'm from Berlin. I'm a digital artist, and since last year I've been in the Web3 NFT scene in Berlin. And since I'm a digital artist, I'm obviously interested in art. But I actually studied linguistics, and I've been working as a writer, so I'm right now experimenting with AI art and how it can be combined with other forms of content, so content generation. And yeah, I have my Instagram account. It can be found on the WIMMeet Instagram account if someone is interested, and today we will see some of my artworks. I've generated them with Dolly, and they are very different. I wanted to show the wide range of styles that you can generate with them. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I would like to also welcome on stage Vagabond. Vagabond, actually, they were hosting the last event chapter, but also they have a big philosophy behind technology. Technology is not an end on itself. Many people believe that technology is going to be the solution of everything, but if you don't have any purpose, I think we could be just serving the technology, and actually technology should serve us. And this big philosophy is shared by Vagabonds. Please welcome on stage Phil.
Okay, nice to see so many people tonight. Welcome everybody. So yes, we are Vagabond, and we try to create a space of working, but based on perhaps different way of thinking than normal. We come from a free software community. We are really into Bitcoin, into blockchain, like social transformation. And we try to put together people with the same way of thinking and create things together. No? For example, Otman explained you, is because in my way of seeing life, there are many people who are not tried artificial intelligence because you register. Here we have a local installation of artificial intelligence, so you can use it without give your data to a big one. No, that's why we install that. The one we don't want to register for try it, here you will can. So nice to see you. Hope to see you many times, and Vagabonds, we are in Los Abrigos. If you are curious, just ask.
Thank you. Now we're gonna take a little break to not making boring and long, okay? Thank you for waiting for this part. So basically we have a special guest that traveled and flew from Saudi Arabia. He was there this morning, and he is actually a specialist, an expert for the Metaverse from Accenture. He's also the author of a book. Please welcome on stage, Nick Rosa.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Otman, for having me. Oh, you lead me here. Okay, I'm going to do stand-up. Cool. So, my name is Nick Rosa. I lead the Metaverse strategy at Accenture in Europe and also growth markets, which is also the southern part of the world for Accenture. So, South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. I wrote a book. It's called Understanding the Metaverse. A business and ethical guide is available through Amazon. It's published by Wiley. I wrote the book on this island last year. I arrived on the island in March, and on the 10th, I arrived on the 3rd or the 4th of March, and on the 10th of June, the first draft of the book was ready. So the island was very inspiring to write the book. The book has been released on the 27th of October last year. And the forewords of the book have been drafted by Professor Tom Furness from the University of Washington, which is the very guy that's invented virtual reality many years ago, which is also a mentor of mine. So the Metaverse and Web3. First of all, I have to give you a bad news. The Metaverse doesn't equal Web3. The Metaverse is not Web3. The Metaverse can be Web3, okay? And this is something that is important to understand. So a lot of people believe that Metaverse equal blockchain. Not true. There are platforms like, for example, Meta Horizon or Roblox or Fortnite that are not based on blockchain technology. But there are other platforms like, for example, Decentraland or the Sandbox that are based on blockchain technology. There are some advantages of both kind of approach, but you have to understand that there are some companies that for governance that is related to how the structure, the hierarchy of the company is composed. Like, for example, Facebook, you have a CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. It's never going to be a decentralized autonomous organization. So you cannot create that kind of structure in a corporation like that. But there are, as I said, some advantages in both technologies, and also some problems that can arise from regulations of local governments and legacy systems that make the implementation of blockchain technology difficult. There are, for example, sectors like oil and gas that are highly regulated. Banking is highly regulated. There are some countries where it's more difficult to use blockchain technology, like, for example, Russia or China. So it's important to understand that not every company is ready and not every country is ready to become a Web3 country and embrace the technology. So I suppose, and this is also my book, that the centralized and decentralized metaverse will coexist for a very long time. Now that we say that, the future for sure is going more and more towards decentralized. So you can be happy and sleep tight that blockchain is not going anywhere, is here to stay. And there are some really, really cool advantages about using blockchain. Some use cases can only be enabled by blockchain technology. Now, let's define what is the metaverse. In the common culture, the metaverse is a highly hyperscale network of 3D worlds where people can move, interact, transact from one world to the other seamlessly, bringing their identity, items, and currency from world to world. It coexists in a fully interactive way, so millions of people technically should be able to interact with each other. Actually, get closer eventually. Okay. I can do the sensual voice. The idea of building this world is basically a moonshot. It's not dissimilar to what Kennedy said in the 60s when he said, we want to go to the moon. When the metaverse frenzy started about a couple of years ago and peaked when Facebook changed the name into Meta, a lot of people believed, oh yes, now we're going to have the metaverse. And 12 months later, a lot of investors were bittered by the fact that the metaverse wasn't here. But the idea of creating a completely new infrastructure that will support this consumption of data in a three-dimensional way in 12 months is myopic, is stupid. Because this kind of use case of transforming the internet as we know it from a platform where you can consume data in 2 dimensions into something that will completely revolutionize the way that we consume information and we interact, we work, we play, we live our life. Also will enable digital content to enter the real world in only 12 months is crazy. So this infrastructure is very deep and needs to be built. Every layer of this infrastructure that it will enable this vision of the metaverse need to be innovated on a very, very deep level in order to make this happen. Why I'm saying this? Because a lot of people believe that the metaverse is just 3D platforms. It's not. Is an infrastructure, is the evolution of the internet, is what internet will become in the future. So right now there are a lot of things that are happening in the background that we are not seeing. Like for example, there are consortia that are working on standards for interoperability between the platforms. So you can bring your identity from one platform to the other, you can bring your content from one platform to the other. But this is problematic for in many ways. Fundamentally 3. The first one, you need to create technological standards for the interaction of the files from all the different platforms. And Kronos Group is working on that. So there are some standards that are already being defined. Even NVIDIA has their own vision of using specific standards that have been invented by Pixar in the 80s, and they say that's the best standards. But right now there's a debate on which kind of file we need to use in order to bring those assets from one world to the other. The second one, which is also important, is the financial modeling. Exactly as you cannot buy a car in one nation and bring it to another nation without paying taxes or without all the bureaucratic procedure, platforms don't want you to buy an asset on another platform that maybe has that asset for a lower price and bring it to their platform, right? So there is a sort of financial modeling that needs to be agreed by all the platforms in order to create this global economy. Exactly like right now we have global taxation if you import and export specific kind of assets. The last bit, which also is very important, is the governance that regulates those environments. And my book is called Understanding the Metaverse, a Business and Ethical Guide for a reason. This vision of this hyperscale infrastructure, when it's going to be complete, will be a very powerful tool. The metaverse will have to be accessible by any kind of device. So mobile phones, laptops, you name it, video game console, everywhere. But most of the people that we know that the direction where the metaverse is going is immersive technologies. So glasses, virtual reality headsets, and so on. When I immerse myself into digital content, I am like into a pool of data, okay? If I move my hand, I create ripples into this pool. If I talk to somebody, if I look at something, if I have a specific kind of tone of voice when I'm talking, all of that stuff, it's tracked. Imagine the amount of biometric data that can be collected by this platform. And imagine how that kind of data can be injected into machine learning algorithm. You probably tried or heard of ChatGPT and how powerful ChatGPT can be in conversation. Imagine large language models, the evolution of large language models in a few years from now. And imagine those models to be trained to use what make us tick, what make us our hearts skip a beat, our interest, our emotional state, in order to sell us anything. They could sell us a car, a house, or a political view. And this is important. And right now, this group of people, me, the operators that right now are building the foundation and the blueprint of the metaverse, need to be aware of these problems. Because if we are building this metaverse as we are trying to create this moonshot of the metaverse, this infrastructure, from the foundation as something that is ethically correct, inclusive, something that will not use data in order to screw people as it happened with a lot of previous technologies. We've seen what happened with Cambridge Analytica. We can potentially have a very powerful tool that can really level the playing field for a lot of people. If you think about it right now, for the first time in the history of humanity, with the dream of the metaverse, the possibility of making a living is disconnected for the first time by the postcode of birth of anybody. So if you're born in Laos, in Australia, in South America, in Italy like me, or everywhere, if you have a good idea and you want to apply it into metaverse platform, you can make quite a lot of money. There are kids that are buying cars and houses to their parents, selling experiences on Roblox. There are people in the Philippines that are playing games in order to earn money in currency that is way more valuable of the local currency right now. So it's something that could really level the playing field for everybody, but needs to be done in an ethical way. There are also a lot of scams right now. We need to understand that the metaverse doesn't mean images with NFTs. Can also be that. It's an interesting use case, but we're literally scratching the surface. NFT technology can enable the transaction of information from one person to the other without any kind of trust. And this can enable, for example, use cases that were unthinkable before. Capitalization of markets that are untapped right now for many companies. Imagine automotive companies. Imagine I am BMW. BMW right now doesn't get a dime if they sell a car from a second-hand sale of one of their cars. So if I buy a BMW car and I sell it to Otman, BMW doesn't get a dime, okay? Now imagine that BMW, instead of selling me the car, sells me an NFT that is a digital twin, as we call it, of the car, that is connected to the car, unlocks the car, starts the car. But also it gets enriched with data information about the usage of the car, the spare parts that have been used on the car, how many accidents the car had, and so on. When Otman comes to me and wants to buy the car, can scan the NFT, get an informed decision, make an informed decision if he wants to buy the car or not based on the value of the car, and then eventually the transaction of the car from me to Otman is instant, including potentially all the documentation that comes with the car, insurance, ownership, and everything else. How much money are wasted in bureaucratic transaction right now for any kind of operation that we're doing? And I'm talking, and obviously, when I do the operation of transacting my car from my wallet to Otman's wallet, there's a percentage of royalty that can be assigned to the car manufacturer, the BMW, for example. And this is for first hand, second hand, fourth hand, forever. It's a stream of business that is untapped until now. Blockchain technology can enable this kind of stream of business. And this is for an asset that depreciates with time, like a car. Imagine what could mean for an asset like, for example, a house that appreciates with time. I don't know if you live in the UK, but if you live in the UK, you know that there's a tax that you pay whenever you buy a house that is very, very high. It's around between 7 to 10% of the value of the car. Of the house, sorry about that. And this is basically a bureaucratic tax, because the office needs to go and check the registry of your name and move the ownership of that house from one owner to the other. It's a lot of money to change one name to another. Instead, selling the house as an NFT could potentially solve this kind of... Hello? Yeah. Could potentially solve this problem of overhead taxation for bureaucratic practices. And this is just one use case. We are literally scratching the surface right now. In my book, I'm talking about the fact that any new technology, when it starts this journey into the wild, is in this era of digital primitives, we call it. So the use case that are not emergent. And I'll give you an example of what is an emergent use case. An emergent use case, for example, was in the 90s, end of the 90s, when social media started to emerge. We had Friendster, we had MySpace, Yahoo Answers, and then arrived Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all the others, right? So it's an emergent use case that everybody starts copying whenever it becomes successful. With the metaverse and NFT technologies and blockchain technology, we literally scratching the surface. We are in this era that is like a skeuomorphic era, where we are imitating use cases that are coming from previous technologies and previous medium. But this is an opportunity, because the iPhone moment, as I call it, where you have technology, business models, and user experience that converge together, for the metaverse hasn't arrived yet. And also what I was saying before, that this infrastructure that is the metaverse, and please call it singular, is the metaverse. There's no such thing as the metaverses, as there's no such thing as the internet, okay? We are not defining the internet by the websites. The internet is an infrastructure that is deep, has layers, right? The metaverse has layers. There's the 3D platform, then you have identity, transaction, moderation, the computation, the networking, and then you go down and down and down, down to the bare metal. And all those layers need innovation. And this is not just an opportunity for the platform, it's an opportunity for every entrepreneur that wants to innovate and collaborate in the construction of this vision of this infrastructure that is the metaverse. And I think that I've been talking quite a lot now. We can open for questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nick, for this intervention. Really quite interesting. I will think twice about buying my car with NFTs, by the way. Guys, any questions from the audience? Please raise your hand and make the queue here, please. Thank you. Please stand up and... Okay, we have one here.
All right, I had just one question. Do you define a metaverse to be the Internet 2.0? Like the infrastructure and everything? Like, as we can say, it's Internet 2.0?
It's the natural... Could be, but it's basically the natural evolution of the Internet. I mean, there's so much confusion between, you know, Web3 is the definition of the decentralized internet based on decentralized technology that's been made by the co-founder of Ethereum in 2014 to define an internet that is operating on decentralized technologies. Web 3.0 is a definition that has been made at the beginning of the 2000s by an engineer from Symantec Corporation about the semantic web. So a web that changes form and information based on your interest in a semantic way. So there's so much confusion in terminology. I don't want to say that the metaverse is Internet 2.0 because it's adding another layer of confusion. So the metaverse, and I wrote this book in the simplest English possible, especially because I'm Italian, so you can imagine my English is pretty bad. It's very Super Mario-like English. Because people need to understand what we're talking about. There's this misconception of, as I said, thinking that the metaverse is just a game, or is just NFTs, or is just platforms to collaborate like Microsoft Mesh or Spatial and stuff like that. The metaverse is so much more than this. As I said, it's an infrastructure. So it's the evolution of the internet. Think about this. In the 90s, we had the internet of data. So we had websites that were no more, no less than glorified brochures. So the most interactive thing that you could do on a website was to send an email to somebody. Not much value in that. Then in the early 2000s, we got this internet of people, so social networks everywhere. Everyone wanted to create a social network, and we had tons of social networks. Then in 2010s, after the iPhone, we all started being like cyborg and having a modem in our pocket and being connected to the world. So we started to be connected with our smart TVs, with our smart home, with our cars and stuff like that. So the Internet of Things. And now, because of the pandemic, a lot of people started using platforms that were designed to interact in a gaming way to socialize, especially Gen Z and Gen Y. And that's what kick-started this revolution of the metaverse. So imagine that during the pandemic, we have data that Gen Z and Gen Y spent more money into digital clothing than real clothing for the first time ever. So people were not, obviously was the pandemic, so not a lot of, you didn't have a lot of opportunities to go out and buy new clothes and stuff like this, but obviously this is something that kick-started this trend of buying accessories on platforms. Why? You say, magari, you may think that is crazy. It's not, because we are all dressed in a different way. So when you are on a platform with all the avatar looking the same, you do not express yourself, your identity. So, and that's what created this movement of buying digital assets on those platforms in order to identify themselves in a better way, to express themselves in a better way. So, and here now, since the 2000s, we have this new evolution of the internet, which is the internet of place. So data are not visualized in 2D format as normal websites, but are places where people can go and interact with each other, play or talk, or eventually watch concerts of Ariana Grande, which I don't like. But you know, they like this kind of stuff. And now, for example, at Accenture, we revolutionized completely the way that we work. We purchased 60,000 virtual reality headsets, which is a little bit less than 1/10 of the whole company. Accenture has 643,000 people globally. So about 9%, less than 9% of the company now has a VR headset. But we are scaling up, so we are distributing more headsets as we go. And now we are deploying the preview of Microsoft Mesh, which is a new add-on of Office 365. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, now we have Mesh, that is basically a platform for the metaverse for productivity. And it's going to be launched publicly in 2024. I cannot give a date, but we already have it because we are testing it and we are building it with Microsoft right now. Microsoft is a very close partner of Accenture at the moment. So the internet of place is here to stay, of place and ownership, because of blockchain technology.
Do we have another question on the audience? Mr. Titi.
Thank you. Nick, you told us last Friday that you were working with 2,000 people in Accenture on the Metaverse topic.
Yeah.
And I guess that with this, you can maybe have an observation of a linear or not linear growth of this Metaverse aha moment that you were describing with the iPhone. For me, it resonates as the Ready Player One moment would be the aha moment that you described with the iPhone, but with the Metaverse. So when you observe your 2,000 people and you have those insights coming from them, when would be the range where we land into that Ready Player One moment? I know this is a very common question, but it's still a date, an ETA.
Yeah. So it's a difficult question. It's $1 million question. I wish I knew this answer so I could invest in those companies that's right now working on Metaverse technologies. I think that we need at least 3 years to define the standards that we were talking about before, like the interoperability standards. 3 years. World Economic Forum is working on the governance, Open Metaverse Consortium and other consortia are working on the business models. Kronos Group is working on the technology with other people as well. I think that in 3 years we're going to have the first standards, commonly recognized and used standards. By 5 years, those standards will be used almost on every platform. In 10 years, almost everyone will have also glasses. But the challenge is huge. For example, I don't know if you heard that recently has been announced that Apple canceled their AR headset. They're launching a VR one very soon, but the AR headset has been canceled for now, because the kind of technology that is used right now by the headset, which is the waveguide technology for the visualization of the images on the glasses, the one that you see through, is not ready for public. It's not ready for prime time. There are some very cool things that will happen soon that I cannot talk about, but keep your eyes peeled, because retail will be revolutionized very, very soon. Just keep your eyes peeled. It's going to happen within this year. Yeah, there's something cool that is brewing. But for example, I mean, it took how many years for mobile phones to become smartphones? Yuppies had mobile phones. You remember that? The little bags. And I remember when I was in the 80s, I was thinking, look at those wankers with those phones. Why do you need a mobile phone? Now everybody has a phone. It's going to take a while. 10 years for mass market adoption, a little bit more probably for the Ready Player One moment. Although, and this is also very interesting, we need to understand that the Metaverse is composed not just by 3D worlds and blockchain. There's also other two components that are not discussed quite a lot, which is artificial intelligence and quantum computing. Quantum computing necessary for understanding chaotic systems. That is important for some specific kind of analysis of data. Artificial intelligence, as you've seen right now with ChatGPT and so on, can accelerate and speed up the creation of content, text, images, 3D worlds, and so on. The future of content creation in the Metaverse is connected directly with AI. Probably some of you remember the TV series that was called Star Trek Next Generation. They had something that was called the holodeck. You could get inside, you could say, I want to be in a nightclub from 1940 in Chicago. And boom, you were there with the piano playing, the smoke in the air, smell of whiskey, and people dressed like in the 40s and so on. You remember it, right? So that's the future of content creation in the Metaverse. Exactly as right now we can use Midjourney or DALL-E to create 2D images, the future of content creation, of 3D content creation, is linked to those generative models. And right now, if you use agents like Nerve from NVIDIA, you can literally take a picture of this place, 3, 4, 5 pictures, and the agent is able to create a 3D model of this place very quickly. Imagine what you could do, just reverse engineer this, get some mid-journey images of the same place, ingest them into the Nerve that is already available, and create a 3D asset. The technology is already here, they just have to connect it.
We have other questions. Ooh, many hands raised. Here, he was going to have a ramp on his arm. Is your arm okay?
Sorry?
Is your arm okay?
Yeah, yes, thank you. Okay, so somewhere around the beginning, you mentioned about that Metaverse will be a combination of multiple worlds. Yeah, and you mentioned that how traveling and moving assets between them will be complicated. Also, you mentioned about how that we will have coexisting Web3/blockchain-based metaverse and also a hierarchical one, like made by Meta. And to me, it's not really clear what it will look like. So far, I was assuming that Metaverse is a product done by Meta, yeah. And
no.
So what should we expect? One, yeah, that there will be multiple providers. That, for example, Meta will have their world, Microsoft will have their world, but also will have some decentralized rogue places. Maybe a darknet will have its own world. Like, what should we expect in this environment?
Last question, by the way.
It's a great question because I know that it's complicated to understand what I'm talking about. And apologies if I wasn't clear enough. Exactly as right now you have websites like Facebook by Meta, or I don't know, Otman by Microsoft, or I don't know, Vogue, or any kind of CNN, any kind of website. Imagine the same experience that you have right now of a browser that you can move from one website to the other, but in 3D, with portals. Okay? That's the vision of the metaverse. That, as I said right now, is probably around 10 years from now to be fully realized. Okay? Meta is going to be one of those websites. The metaverse is not owned by Meta. What Meta did was appropriation of the cultural identity of the metaverse, just because they wanted. There's a terminology in business which is burning the boats, which is exactly what is being said that Cristoforo Colombo did when he reached the Americas, in Los Americas. So, and why he did that? To motivate, to push their people to colonize that new land that they just discovered. What Zuckerberg did said, I believe in this so much that I'm burning my previous name, I'm calling this company Meta, and you are doing this, and if you're not in, you can leave. That's exactly what he did. But the metaverse is not owned by Zuckerberg. I really hope that this is going to be the case for the future. I do. I'm the first one to say that. I really hope so, because the metaverse, it needs to be open, exactly as the internet right now is open, right? It's the evolution of the internet, and this internet is not owned by Zuckerberg. And as we see right now with ChatGPT, even companies that we believe are dominating the internet, like Google, are shaking because this is new technology that is much better than what they have as a search engine to provide answers to questions. So it's a very vibrant environment. You know, you have these technologies that can literally disrupt business that have been here for 20 years. And think about it, companies like Google, Meta, Apple, have been in Oj for the last 10, 15, 20 years, how much did they innovate their product line? Not much. What can technologies like Web3, AI, quantum, 3D worlds do for those companies? They can propel their business into the stratosphere and make them way more successful than other companies if they embrace those technologies. If they don't, probably they're going to become the Kodak of the future, the blockbuster of the future, right? So business are disrupted.
A few questions before to wrap up.
Okay, so first of all, like you were pretty clear. It's complex stuff, so it's hard to grasp for the, I think, for the imagination of us that we don't work in the space and we don't see updates from the space every day. But I think you gave a pretty clear overall picture. Then of course there is a lot to dig. Like every one of us can dig a lot. So I have a couple of questions. One has to do with the old businesses and old social media. So how do you see the old social media evolving in the metaverse, if you see them evolving, like Meta? And do you think they'll manage to evolve and take a piece of the space? So this is one. And the other one is if you can make an example of a business model that you think or you have seen already emerging in the metaverse, like a business model that maybe we are not so used to see in the Web2, or I mean, in the current industry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the business model that I've seen emerging for sure is the application of technologies that are related to the metaverse for the enterprise. There's a lot of money to make. Right now, for example, at Accenture, we're using metaverse technology to do onboarding and training of all of our people. We onboarded 165,000 people since the beginning of the pandemic on metaverse platforms. So metaverse for the enterprise, from blockchain applied to supply chain, training for enterprise, just-in-time training with connected worker, monocular devices and stuff like that, product visualization, product configuration, virtual try-on, marketing activation, all of that applied to consumer products is super, super powerful. So the service business in the metaverse works. And that's why Accenture, which sells people, created the Metaverse Continuum Business Group. 2,000 people doing only metaverse stuff. And we're doing this because we know that there's a lot of money to make. And sorry, the first question was?
How do you see old social media, like Meta, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, evolving in the metaverse, and if you think they will?
Yeah, it's a great question. Social media, like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and so on, change the way that we are social. The metaverse will be different. The metaverse will change our perception of reality, what we consider real, the experience. The evolution of social media is a more natural way to interact. It's much better for me to meet with somebody on a metaverse platform and have a conversation as I am in the same room, like I'm talking to Otman right now, to you right now, than being on WhatsApp on my mobile phone with a piece of plastic in my hand all day. So the evolution of social media is, funny enough, becoming more natural in the way that I interact with the people that I like and I want to meet or that I have to work with. It's never going to replace being in person, but it's going to be much better than being on a mobile phone all day, right? Second, photorealistic avatars that a lot of people believe that are 20 years ahead in the future are already here. If you have a computer fast enough and powerful enough, you can use a new technology that is called codec avatars that has been created by Meta immediately and be in a room with a person that looks exactly like the real person and interact with this person one by one. So there will be very little different from being right now on a stage talking to you, and I cannot touch you, obviously. If you were augmented reality digital images in front of my eye, it wouldn't make any difference right now, right? Obviously, if I try to come to you and shake your hand, it would make a difference for now. But the future of social media is a more natural way to communicate with other people, so those companies will need to embrace it, and that's why Meta obviously realized that. But also imagine about what is going to happen when we're going to be able to digitally modify the reality in front of us. If the sky is gray, I want to make it blue. Boom, blue sky. All the shadows changes accordingly thanks to AI models that modify the image in real time of what I'm seeing. I want to see every girl look like Margot Robbie. Boom. Deep fake on all of their faces. It could potentially happen. I want to read the micro expression of the person that I'm talking to right now to understand if this person likes me or dislikes me, or what are the best. Please, ChatGPT, read the micro expression of this person and tell me what is the best potential question or topic that I need to ask this person based on his LinkedIn profile in order to be interesting for this person that is in front of me. It's a perfect tool for a date, for example. But all these things will completely change the way that we interact with each other. Completely. The perception of reality, the sociality, the way that we talk to people. It's an interesting future.
Please thank him. And